Governor, First Lady, Speaker Stumbo, and Leader Palmer and Leader Hoover, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. You don't have very many laughs left in you. Speaker, it's about like you to say something nice to me at the end, to give me up. What can I say about you? I mean, that was the funniest speech I ever heard you make. I saw those buzzards over there, too. I thought they were flying over the governor's mansion. But it's a matter of perspective. All those buildings are pretty close to each other, Just a short walk. The other day, somebody, glad you acknowledged Commissioner Farmer's presence. You still hear Commissioner Farmer? Commissioner Farmer and I were playing a kind of one-on-one basketball game. He let me win. I said, I hope it's not the only time this year. But we were talking, and I said, we've got this little video out, if you haven't seen it, and it says, Kentucky is adrift. And I kept on talking to Richie. I said, Kentucky is adrift. And I got an emergency phone call from him. He said, it's Commissioner Farmer. He said, it's an emergency. And I said, what is it, Richie? He said, well, David, he said, I know you said Kentucky is adrift. He said, the governor's building a damn ark. I said, don't worry about it, Richie. That gig only worked one time. And by the way, we probably won't be asked to join in the 2x2 going up through there. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. What a great crowd. I hope we have better weather on the way home than we had last year. It was pretty treacherous. Almost as treacherous as the prediction of the speaker for the Senate agenda in the coming session. But we do live in a time of uncertainty. I'm glad there's a little bit of uptick in the economy around the country. Now, some would give various reasons for that. I heard someone tell me today that it was because President Obama had gone on vacation. Those of us that live or represent parts of the 5th District think it's because Hal Roger has assumed his budget position. But whatever the cause, it might be because the people of the United States of America have given a wake-up call to the United States Congress. And now we have a Congress in Washington who really know that the people are tired of increased taxation, tired of unrelenting spending, tired of the level of debts, and oh, by the way, will bring the Environmental Protection Agency and other anti-coal folks under control because we're from a coal-producing state, and coal is a part of the answer to the United States of America. This session is going to be interesting, but I want to just paint a little picture about where we are in the Commonwealth of Kentucky right now. I know the speaker said something about Tennessee. It's kind of funny to make talks about Tennessee, especially by someone who's wearing an orange tie, Mr. Speaker. But you can look at Tennessee and say what you want about all the great strings of wins we've had over them in football and how it almost happened, but the more troubling situation that you have is when Governor Haslam takes office and has taken office with a conservative legislature down there, a state that had a per capita income almost like ours several years ago, has had a double-digit higher per capita income than Kentucky has for several years. A state that was about the size of Kentucky at one time has 9 congressional seats while we're down to 6 and holding on barely. Now, the people in Boone, Kenton, and Campbell County have had a good run. And the people in Lexington have had a pretty good run. And the people in Louisville have had a pretty good run. But you know, those of us that live on the Tennessee line face Tennessee every day, and all the people in Boone, Kenton, Campbell, Jefferson, and Fayette County are in competition with Tennessee every day. They have a better business environment than the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And just think, we've raised all these places up to number 19 just because the Senate stopped $300 million of ridiculous taxes on businesses last year. That's all we had to do to rise up to 19. But look at the states that are above us. Those are the states that are growing. Those are the states that we're in competition with. Those are the states that have a business-friendly environment. Now, other people can complain about the approach that we've had about the tax code, but we've acknowledged the fact. And you know, the time when you have a little spurt of prosperity or increase is not the time to get timid. You know, we have a serious problem with this tax code. Everybody acknowledges it. The governor says it's not time to do it. The speaker says that he appreciates it, but he kind of blows it off just a little bit up to this juncture. And what I'm telling you, it's my considered opinion after having been in the legislature for a long time that when we have these task forces that get together, ultimately we hire an expert and follow what those experts say. So our proposal in the Kentucky State Senate, which will pass the State Senate, and in my opinion with bipartisan support, will say that we ought to hire to work for us 5 economists, 2 CPAs, the head of the legal division of the Kentucky Bar Association, a PVA, and the chairs of the 2 budget committees as ex officio members, and let them not study this issue any longer. Let them draw the best tax code that the Commonwealth of Kentucky have to make us the most job creation friendly state in the Commonwealth that this Commonwealth can be in the United States of America. And why I'm saying that is if we let social programs try to make us a prosperous state, we would be utopia. It just doesn't work. The only thing that can turn people's lives around is having a well-paying job. And we can talk about it. You know, it was often said by Will Rogers, people talk about the weather, nobody's doing something about it. I'm offering you a way to do something about it. And somebody said, how can we build a consensus? Leader Palmer said, well, we ought to have more people at the table. Well, this bill calls for all of you to be at the table in an open hearing. People that don't have specific agendas, but to come up there and give information and testimony to help us create a tax code that will be ready for the next governor, whoever he or she might be, to take the lead on this issue. And with your help to marshal this change in tax code through the Kentucky General Assembly, and it will not be a pleasant event for anyone to tackle. But until we get an approach to do that, it's not going to happen. People are going to talk about it. Everybody's going to have a legion of folks protecting their interest. And if you put everybody on this commission that has a particular agenda, if your only tool in your chest is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. So we have to have experts to come together from our state universities, both public and private, with the CPAs and the attorneys, to draw a tax code for local government and state government. And then, and only then, will we separate the sheep from the goats to see who's serious. And everyone will say, well, this is not as good as it could be. It could be different here. It could be different there. The approach is presently being tried in Georgia, and it's the only approach that will work to change our tax code, and it's the single most crippling, debilitating thing that we have in the Commonwealth of Kentucky as far as the job creations and competition with other states. The Rust Belt has changed. Look up there and see if Mitch Daniels and now his conservative legislature are not ready to take the jobs. Look at Ohio and the changes that have happened with a conservative legislature and the new governor in Ohio. The Rust Belt has awakened, and we can be a border state that is adrift if we don't take serious action on this issue. And we can talk about what we've done about the pension reform. For the last 5 years, we've been trying to get the General Assembly to do something serious about pension reform. First, we tried to get a situation where you had a modified plan. We had a partial, called a hybrid plan, where you had a partial defined benefit and a partial defined contribution plan. We could not get that passed. The best we could do was to get an agreement that we would phase in the actuarially required contributions for this defined benefit plan. If I ask any of you to raise your hands to see if you knew any company presently in the private sector that had a defined benefit plan, I'd be ashamed, because everyone else would ridicule you, and the stockholders, if you're publicly traded, would say that you were insane. We cannot have a government or a protected class of individuals who have a retirement system that no one in the private sector can afford. On the way over here, I had a reporter call me and said, well, I don't understand. It's disrespectful to public employees. And my answer is we have an obligation to public employees and retirees, and the only way we can meet that obligation is to change the retirement plan for future hires so that we can hope to meet our requirement to these employees. But our higher obligation is to everyone else who's going to work their entire life to not only take care of their own retirement, but to take care of other people's retirement who might be in a different situation. Now, teachers are different. They don't get Social Security situations. But as far as the other employees, we have to change this system, and we have to change it now. And there will be some cost involved initially, but every year we have a defined contribution plan is a year of unfunded liability. We will be pay as you go, and ultimately we will buy ourselves out of the situation where we have a crippling unfunded liability that will keep us from doing all the good things. This is not just a leaky bucket. This is an unsustainable system that will rot the bottom out of the bucket. There won't be any little flow. It's unsustainable, and we're ready to address it in the Kentucky State Senate, and we invite the House and the governor to help us address it now before it goes any farther. We've talked about, in the Senate this time, in addition to tax reform and pension reform, we're very much involved in the Pew Foundation study to do something about corrections, and we want to talk about education reform also. In the past, we've had the advanced placement bill, which gave differentiated pay to teachers who recruited candidates to take place in advanced placement courses and gave rewards to those teachers who got students who were identified as groups who had not been successful in advanced placement in the past, and gave incentives and rewards. But we had some folks fighting us because there was involved differentiated pay. Some of the teachers' unions say it's differentiated pay. Well, I'll tell you, with the support of ExxonMobil and with the support of other organizations, we implemented this program here in Kentucky and had the largest increase in advanced placement scores in the nation. We have to stress excellence. Senate Bill 1 changed the entire atmosphere of Kentucky in this state. We did away with the CATS test. We've adopted a curriculum. We're going to change the curriculum to emphasize the sort of skills that will prepare Kentucky students to be world-class in math and English, and will prevent them from having to go into immediate remedial activity when they go into higher education. And I know KCTCS and the university presidents can use that money that you're presently having to spend for remediation for other very good purposes. We have to change this system, and we have to think outside of the box. We have to make sure that principals, already in this session, we've passed a bill in the Kentucky State Senate that will allow superintendents with consultation with the site-based councils to hire the principals. There's no other management organization in the world that will hold someone responsible that cannot hire the other management folks, and we're going to pass that and have passed it in this session of the Kentucky General Assembly. And we're going to return the opportunity to have neighborhood schools and voluntary charter schools. And I will tell you that when David Williams, Arne Duncan, and Barack Obama agree that the answer to urban problems many times is a voluntary charter school, it must be the situation that the time has come, because I tell you, we have to give the opportunity to think outside the box. We cannot allow many of our urban students who have a socioeconomically challenged situation to be left behind, and we've got to try something different, because education happens one child at a time, and we can't miss any of them, and we solicit your support for the voluntary charter school program. In this session of the General Assembly, the Kentucky State Senate is going to support a bill that will, I think, do more for transparency and openness in government than any other particular bill that we have, and that's to change the primary date from May to August. It doesn't sound like very much at first, but that takes the filing deadline for legislative seats from the late part of January until after the session is over. And the people of the Commonwealth of Kentucky can judge whether representatives or senators have done a good job, and if they haven't, they can give them a contest. The other thing that will do is open up the first 20 or so days of the Kentucky General Assembly so we can do the people's work instead of waiting to see if there's an opponent lurking around there for all 100 members of the House and half of the members of the Senate. And when we do that, we can implement a schedule that will assure that the House sends the budget every 2 years to the Senate in an earlier time period, and the Senate can act upon that to go into conference committee to help accomplish what Leader Hoover mentioned a few minutes ago, and that is getting a budget out on time with enough time to address the governor's veto if he or she decides to put one on there. These are serious agenda items for a serious time. You know, we can say whatever we want to, but in the last 10 years, there's been a difference in the Kentucky legislature. We've had a divided legislature with the Republicans in control, pardon me, of the Senate, the Democrats in control of the House. I welcome the new leadership in the Kentucky State Senate on the Democrat side. I would be remiss, however, if I did not acknowledge the hard work of Senator Ed Worley, who honorably led his party in the Kentucky State Senate. He was loyal to his party, but was amenable to working together. Ed, I don't know whether you're here. I hope you're enjoying yourself someplace else, but I want for you to join me in acknowledging Senator Worley for the work that he did. And Leader Palmer, I want to tell you that we're pleased with your election. When faced with the alternative, you're looking pretty good to me tonight. In any event, we look forward to working together. For those of you who didn't recognize me when I came up here tonight, I'll give you my classic pose in the Herald Leader. But I will tell you this. I'm proud to have a hard-working group of Kentucky State senators, and in the Republican caucus, we made our leadership decisions, set an agenda, and went to work the first day. And by tomorrow, at the end of work, we will have an agenda passed through the Kentucky State Senate that, if passed by the House of Representatives, will make this one of the most successful sessions of the Kentucky State Legislature, whether short or long. Governor, I encourage you to get involved in that agenda, and I know you will in the next few days, because we have too many problems facing the Commonwealth of Kentucky to shiver on the shore. It's time to jump into the water and swim forward, because if you tread water long enough, you will ultimately drown. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of of America and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Get involved in the next few months, and we can change this state forever. Thank you very much.